Hey everybody, welcome to the weekly news recap of the 2nd to the 8th of September 2024. So, this week, Sony finally killed Concord. I mean, that didn't take very long at all. Fucking 2 weeks they gave it. Anyway, Concord is shutting down its servers on September 6th, so as of today's recording, it's already gone. Will not be playable after that. Its developers explore other options. What those other options are going to be, they'll probably try to relaunch it as free to play. I would argue they should maybe try to convert it into like a single player game, but that's going to take way longer than probably what Sony are willing to go with. But anyway, so 14 days later, Concord has been shut down. I was almost thinking it's a world record for live services being taken down. It's actually not. 2 other games were taken down faster than that. The Culling 2, I think, managed like a couple of days, and the day before, which was this really horrible asset flip MMO thing, similarly, I think it managed like a week before that was taken down as well. That being said, then it's Concord at 2 weeks, and then it's like 3 months, I think, is the next one after that. It was something like it was like a wrestling thing. It's like a wrestling arena fighter thing was the next one. Not Rumbleverse. Yeah, actually, maybe it is Rumbleverse. Anyway, so what do they have to say for themselves? While many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. So, the game is down. You cannot play it. If you have bought it, Sony is in the process of refunding you, although rather hilariously, the refunds will take between 30 to 60 days. This is dramatically longer than than the length of time Concord was out for. How it's going to handle Steam and Epic's refunds hasn't been made clear, but if you've bought it digitally on PlayStation Store, you'll have somewhere between 30 and 60 days. Anyway, I'd say the reason for that is this: they probably bundle all of the refunds together and do them at the end of the month. I wouldn't say they're like specifically waiting for every single one, and then as soon as you make your refund request, it takes 30 days. I'd say it's more like a accounting thing. They just do it all at the end of the month or at a specific day in the month. Anyway, it's not like you can really be shocked. When the game was announced initially, it was given this CG trailer that this screenshot is from, and it seemed like it was Sony's kind of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of knockoff thing, which I think people were on board for. I guess like 5-party thing, single player thing, and maybe you jump between the different characters, maybe there's a co-op element to it, what have you. I think people would have been on board for that, but once it was revealed that it was a hero shooter a la Overwatch, quickly, no real interest in it after that. Also, I don't think it was given a ton of marketing ahead of time either. It really did feel like this was the last Jim Ryan thing left in PlayStation. They just wanted to get it out the door, get it to flop, and then fucking move on so they can move on with their lives. What's not clear now is what's going to happen with Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is Firewalk's other game, where they had paused development on Arc Raiders because Concord was starting to shape up. So they wanted to work on that more. So what's going to be happening with Arc Raiders now? Is that getting pushed back further while they retool Concord? Or are they just going to let Concord quietly just slip into infamy? What is interesting, there is this like Amazon anthology video game TV show coming up soon, called Secret Level, I think, and it has a bunch of... It's basically going to be each episode is going to focus on a particular video game, and Concord is one of them, which is pretty funny. That'll be an interesting episode. Oh, it's going to end on a cliffhanger, so it's never going to be resolved. Right, anyway, moving on. Sony has 30 years of PlayStation as of this week, next week, whatever. PlayStation 30th anniversary, and it's doing a bunch of things. Obviously, Astrobot. If you've seen any of the press from the new game, that is very much a celebration of PlayStation itself. Could probably lump that in with the 30th anniversary, even though it's couple of days early, possibly. There's some other things. There's a Gran Turismo demo slash like mini experience of Gran Turismo, something like that. Entirely sure how it works. Free trial version designed to attract diverse players of all skill levels to Gran Turismo 7. Yeah, it's a demo, I guess. Well, not really a demo. I think it's a little bit beefier than what you might expect from a demo. Some soundtracks making its way to various music platforms. All the God of Wars, except God of War 3 for some reason. Unit 13, yes, the wonderful soundtrack from well-known game Unit 13. Anyway, Shapes of Play is this, I don't know, weird product that they're going to be selling in the store. Physical product. There's a board game that sounds like Connect 4. There's this kind of Tetramino kind of thing, but you're just like making shapes and what have you. It's just meant to be something to play with, I guess, while you're waiting for the no load times that the SSD has. I don't know. While you're waiting for Sony to put out a good first party exclusive. Anyway, and then these I think they're stress relief, like squishy things. And there's a free online multiplayer weekend, yada yada yada. What's most interesting though is the artwork for the PlayStation 30th anniversary, because you can see in the background there's the symbols, the triangle, circle, cross, square for PlayStation, and they're made up of various peripherals and consoles that Sony have released over the years. There's a PS1 in there, there's a PS2, there's a multi-tap from the PS2, the various DualShocks, the portables, PlayStation Vita, that kind of stuff. But one really interesting addition, and there's only one of them in all of the peripherals and hardware shown off, is between the PlayStation logo and the 3 on the 30th anniversary. So can I zoom in further on this? So here, between the PlayStation and the 3 is something we haven't seen yet from Sony. So is the assumption is that this is the PS5 Pro. This is what it looks like. It's going to have speed lines, so it goes faster, something, I don't know. But yeah, this doesn't match up with any other piece of hardware that Sony have put out up until now. So that's probably the PS5 Pro. Although having said that, I don't think the PS5 is actually in any of them. Memory card, DualSense, PlayStation Portable, PlayStation Remote, PSVR 2 handles, Vita, DualSense again. Maybe the PS Vita game cartridge. Not clear on that one. UMD, camera, DualShock 4, the weird gun that came with the original PlayStation VR. This thing, I don't know what this is. I think it's a charging dock, but I'm not sure. PlayStation VR, the original. Though I don't think the VR 2 is actually on this either. Anyway, I haven't seen the PS5. This, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Somebody can tell me what this is supposed to be, because I have no idea. This is either the PlayStation TV or like the PlayStation VR processing unit, maybe, but I thought that was a bit more square. I think this is the PlayStation TV that you can't get anymore, which is actually a really cool device. It's essentially a PS Vita without without all the extra stuff. It's just the processing part of it, and you connect it up to a HDMI thing, and you can play PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita games on it. PS4 games, maybe? Not sure. That's PS3, that's a camera, that's another charging dock. It's the accessibility controller that I've been meaning to get one of, because I want to see how it works. Possibly PS5 Pro, is the PS4. I don't see a PS5. Maybe because it has such a weird shape, they couldn't get it to fit in here. Again, I still have no idea what this is. PSVR 2 isn't there either, yeah. Wait, is this the PS? This is the PS5. Okay. No, it's not the PS5, because PS5 doesn't have a big line across it like that. This might be the PS5, the newer model, actually. I have the launch model, so I think this might be the new model, PS5. Anyway, Point is, this one that has like 4 stripes on it, we don't know what that is. That'll be interesting. Oh boy. Zoom back out. Anyway, moving on. They haven't announced it or anything like that. This was sort of just something people have seen and pointed out and be like, I don't know what that is. We've never seen it before. Anyway, Stories from Saul, The Gun Dog launches February 20th, 2025. We had a look at this as part of Nintendo's Direct Indie World thing last week. This was a really interesting looking kind of visual novel, and it kind of had a bit of a Game Boy vibe to it. What they are pointing out now is that with this extra time they've had to work on the game, that it now has a full color mode. Up until now, it had the kind of familiar Game Boy green and black kind of look to it, which they still will have, but there is also a full color mode for people who would rather play it in full color. And there's also been announced that there is a demo available now, currently. You want to check it out? I could have sworn that them announcing the demo was on this, but maybe it was a different article I read. Oh no, here it is. There's a release demo featuring the new mode available on PlayStation and PC, and the one for the Switch will be next week. No, not next week, the week after next. Celtic mythology-inspired pixel art action RPG Drova Forsaken Kin launches the middle of October. Let me get a trailer for this. So I hadn't heard anything about this before, but I am really interested in anything that is Celtic, druidic looks to it, because you don't see it very often. And Celtic, it's technically is my heritage, I suppose, as an Irish person. That's where the Celts come from. Even though they sort of made their way into Germany a little bit as well. And I think this is from a German even developer. But anyway, at least they're getting funding from a German like culture board, at least. So they must have some element of it. Must be in German. You can see it there in the top right. Federal Ministry of something. On the basis of a decision by the German Bundestag. Right, anyway. What kind of game it is, you can see it's like an isometric hack and slash kind of thing. It looks a bit ropey, but like I said, you don't see too many like kind of Celtic vibe things going on, so I'd keep an eye out for it, at least middle of October for that one. Phoenix Springs has been delayed till first week of October, so this was supposed to come out September 16th, a week from now. But has since been delayed, and they are planning to bring it to GOG and itch.io a little bit later in the year as well, but it's going to be moved to October. They felt that they lost a bit of momentum in the summer. It's probably because I'd imagine they were going around to the various conferences, Gamescom, probably one of the bigger ones, but there's also a bunch of other game developer things, meetups that happen in the summer, so I imagine they didn't get as much development work as they feeling they would have. It is only a 3-person team, so chances are all 3 of them were at those conferences, so these kind of things happen. But anyway, Phoenix Springs is a detective kind of noir thing, but it has this really interesting color palette to it. So the color you're seeing here is kind of what the game looks like. It's very vibrant, almost sickly yellows and greens. See how well it plays out, but it's different, you know. It's a different art style. It looks nice. Free games this week over on the Epic Store. Football Manager 2024, which is actually last year's Football Manager because years in games don't make sense. If you've never played them before, Football Manager is effectively all of the parts of football that aren't playing the game. That's basically it. It's doing the transfers and getting them trained and all the accounting shit and picking out who's going to play on the team and what have you. Anyway, the other game is Sniper Ghost Warrior Contract, which was this kind of spin-off. I think it was a spin-off from the Ghost Warrior series, where you would basically just take on contracts that don't have any. I don't think they pull into like an overarching campaign. I think they're all like standalone things. On the Ultimate Assassin, the most realistic Modern Warfare sniping game available, immersive single-player campaign, open-ended maps, tactical thinking, stealthy approach, precision, yada yada yada. Sounds like Sniper Elite, I think that's what it is, but like modern or Sniper Elite is really more of a World War II thing. Obviously, this is all CG, so what does the actual game look like? What is that thing? Why is there a Bullet Bill? Why is Bullet Bill in this game? I think this kind of effect must be like a detective mode thing, because it looks kind of weird. I think it's like an X-ray vision type situation. Anyway, again, we're starting a new month-ish, so we have Game Pass getting a refresh. So lots of transportation type things for Game Pass this week, or this month, or the first half of the month anyway. So Expeditions, a Mudrunner game, is kind of a management thing for, I guess, like off-road kind of survivalism sort of things. Riders Republic is kind of SSX, but not as good as SSX, really. I think the idea is like extreme sports on a mountain. It's got a little bit of steep to it, I suppose. Train Sim World 5, Train Sim. You probably have a pretty good idea of what that game is like. And then Age of Mythology Retold is, of course, a remaster of the original Age of Mythology that has been getting a bit of shit from the gaming community because its DLC is just JPEGs. And I seem to recall the first time they released this DLC when Age of Mythology was new, it was a similar issue that the game community had, is that you're charging us like $20 for JPEGs. Anyway, it goes in circles. We're doing the same thing again, it seems. Why they didn't just make that part of the core game at this point? Like, I don't think Activision don't own Age of Mythology, so it's not them doing it. So who is it? EA? Wouldn't surprise me if it was EA. All right. Anyway, those are some of the games you can play soon. What if you want to play something now? Well, you can play Astrobot, and from social media is any indication, fucking everybody is playing Astrobot. Anyway, we will also be playing it because I don't think I can hold off playing on it anymore. So Astrobot is standalone game for the new PlayStation mascot, effectively. I say new, he's been around since like PS4. Arguably. Started off as a kind of VR mascot, which is why not many people had, heard of him before Astro's Playroom. Astro's Playroom was bundled with every new PS5. Effectively, it was a PS5 exclusive that absolutely everybody owned, and it was something you could play while the PS5 was busy doing setup for various other things and installing other games and that kind of thing. And it wasn't a good game, all on its own right. Very wholesome, very fun. It's cool, it's like celebrating a lot of the PlayStation IPs over the years, the PlayStation characters and what have you, and from the sound of thing, Astrobot is more of that. More of that, some bespoke levels, some levels that are based on PlayStation franchises. That's a Ratchet and Clank level, for instance. I believe there's a God of War level, and so on and so forth. I'll be interested to see if any of the IPs that they've completely forgotten about, if they have any levels. I.e., is there going to be a Bloodborne level? Is there going to be a Demon Souls level? Is there going to be a Gravity Rush level? Doubt. We'll find out, though, because we will be playing it later this week as well. It's Astrobot, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. As the name might let you know, it's a sequel to the original Warhammer 40k Space Marine that came out on the PS3 and 360 and so on, but that's a long time ago. It's a long time ago to not do like a refresher or a re-release of the original or something. From what I've heard, like it is a direct follow-on from the first game. Will you have had to have played it to understand what's going on? Probably not. Warhammer's pretty straightforward. You go in, kill things, go over there, kill more things, go over there, kill more things. Like there's not a whole lot to it. They're not exactly known for subtlety in these kind of games. It's not that like the Warhammer mythos or whatever doesn't have subtlety and that's the way to put it, underhanded tactics and things you need to pay attention to and what have you. But for the gist of it, the games have always been go over there, shoot thing, go over there, shoot thing, go over there, shoot other thing. Like there's not a whole lot else to it. There was a game brought out recently, Warhammer Bolt Gun, which itself is kind of set between the two Space Marine games, but again, there's not a lot of story there. It's an okay game. It's all right. It's like it plays like Doom a little bit. I liked it, but it is very one note. Anyway, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. You can play now if you went the early access thing, even though technically it's not early access. The game is out. It is available. You're paying to play the game on its release date instead of just waiting a couple of days. Anyway, I hate this new thing that they've started doing. Sumerian 6. Sumerian 6 is a kind of tactics game set fantasy World War II, kind of. People having superpowers, the occult, Nazi stuff. It's real-time stealth tactics thing. So think the it's not really XCOM because it's real-time. XCOM is turn-based, obviously. I'm trying to think of the name of the game that plays like this. Kind of Commandos, I guess, does a little bit of this. Weird West has a little bit of this. Anyway, it's an interesting premise. I don't think you don't see many games like this, and if you do, they tend to be, sequels, several sequels in. This is whatever the game is, 5 or 6 or something at this point. Anyway, it's like another entrant in that kind of genre that you don't see too many of. Star Trucker. I've been kind of looking for another kind of cozy game because Power Wash Simulator I've kind of played to death. Crime Scene Cleaner that I was talking about a while ago, I have finished, and I'm not sure if they're going to be doing more content for it. I hope they are, but right now there's no new things to do on it. So I'm kind of thinking maybe Star Trucker might be a kind of cozy-ish type game. I know it's not a cleaner game exactly, but it might be the kind of stress-free type thing of doing a job, I guess. doing a good job that you can see making any changes to what have you. This is as straightforward as it sounds. It's essentially Euro Truck Simulator, but you're in space. That's kind of it. It's kind of the deal with it. But I don't know. I like the idea of it, I suppose. Just spaceship trucking. How it plays out and how any kind of weirdness they might throw into it because you're in space. That is also on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, you do have access to that soon. I put Sumerian 6 in twice. Not sure why. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. This is a collection, as you might imagine, of... There's 2 Ace Attorney games where you played as Miles, and I believe the first one didn't make its way out of Japan. The second one did. So it's a collection of both of them. This is, I think, set before you meet... I think it's set before, like, Phoenix Wright joins the series or whatever, starts the series or whatever. I think it's set before that. But it's got a similar kind of vibe to the Ace Attorney games. It absolutely does not take itself very seriously. It's very comedic. Very over the top, crazy characters and that kind of stuff. Very young Francisca there. Anyway, moving on. Unfortunately, though, it is now time to talk about the worst part of video games, video game industry. So, Sony exec, just after launching Astrobot, that shows a shit ton of IP that Sony own and is doing nothing with, and then post-cancelling, I don't know how to say it with Concord, but shuttering Concord like 2 weeks after it's been out, claims that they don't have enough original franchises. If you wanted an idea of how out of touch the C-suite are with what's going on, here you go. They don't know what they're doing. Sony have so much IP that they just sit on and do nothing with. They're just gone all in on fucking Aloy and Kratos. Like, Nathan Drake is there, but it hasn't been on Uncharted for ages. It's interesting they went with Nathan Drake and not Joel, probably because Joel does not fit, really, with the kind of wholesome vibe they're going for. Again, not that Nathan Drake does either. It's fucking mass killer Nathan Drake. But even then, those characters, maybe with the exception of Kratos, haven't been around very long. And like this version of Kratos hasn't been around very long, and you could almost argue it's a different character to the original God of War Kratos, who's just all angry all the time, all edgelord. New Kratos is not that; he's a dad. But like, where's Ratchet and Clank? Where's Jak and Daxter? Where's Sly Cooper? Hey, False Anarchist, how you getting up? How you getting on? You know, where's Cat, Gravity Rush? Where's Parappa the Rapper? You know, where's Crash Bandicoot? You sold them off, fucking idiots. There's so many IPs there that would lend themselves well to exactly what Sony want, because they're looking for things that they can turn into TV shows, that they can turn into films and what have you. And Sly Cooper would make a perfect Saturday morning cartoon. You know, easy, no problem. They're looking for anime. I think it says it down there somewhere. Whack. Gravity Rush is an anime. It could not be any more of an anime if it tried. Like, there's so many IP there. Just shows off how little the C-suite has any idea of what they have, what they're sitting on. Even this article here from Chris Kerr kind of points out a lot of them. Like, The Last of Us, sure, Uncharted, Horizon, they're the ones everyone kind of knows now because they're the ones they're focusing on, but there's tons here that they just don't look at. Killzone, Ratchet and Clank, Little Big Planet, Resistance, Loco Roco. So many, and they don't do anything. Anyway, yeah, we don't have enough IP while Astrobot is a massive celebration of Sony's IP, and you just shuttered Concord within 2 weeks. But yeah, they don't have enough IP, guys. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of other IP that they're doing nothing with, Until Dawn is another one that they do nothing with. Anyway, Until Dawn developers suffering layoffs. Suffering layoffs. I do not like that term. They were fired for no reason. Anyway, game isn't even out yet, and already they are letting people go. So upcoming Until Dawn remake for the PS5 and PC isn't out yet, but already animators, programmers, and designers are being let go. I'm sadly being made redundant from my role as a junior game designer. This is one person off of LinkedIn. The game is set to release next month, October. Been working on the game for 2 years. This person has been let go. I think the game itself has been in development for about 4. According to various publications, it's about 11 employees of what is a 33 people. So it's still a pretty significant chunk of people being let go from a game that isn't even out yet. They won't even get to enjoy any bonuses that might have been attached to the game releases, because game companies love doing that, because it's an excuse for them not to pay you. Anyway, the update to this article is that Ballistic Moon, the developer itself, has confirmed that those layoffs are indeed going ahead. We at Ballistic Moon are confronted with some difficult realities. It's with deep regret and a heavy heart that we must make the tough decision to significantly scale down our team to secure the future of our studio. This comes after our development of Until Dawn for PS5 and PC. This is in partnership with Sony, you know. It's not like Ballistic Moon aren't owned by Sony. They're a third party, but they're obviously working on a IP that Sony own, which is Until Dawn. Sony couldn't help? No? Is Sony mandating it? Are they not paying them enough for the work they're doing on this? It's not great. It's not a great look when you're complaining about IP you don't have, and then you don't help the developers that are working on that IP. Not only that, you let them work on it for 8 years with Concord, and then kill it in 2 weeks. Feels good. I'm sure they're very happy they signed that contract with you. Speaking of the wrong people feeling the brunt of stupid executive decisions, Rocksteady hit by layoffs as well. Hit by layoffs. Who did the hitting? Upper management. The attack is coming from inside the house. After Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League underperforms. That is a way to put it, I suppose. Rocksteady staff told Eurogamer that following the underperformance of Suicide Squad, there's been redundancies have been made. The company's QA department, because that was the problem with the game, guys. Not enough quality assurance. So that's the people we'll get rid of. Yeah, that was it. The game was fine otherwise. Definitely no other problems with it. Just the quality assurance. So that's who we'll go after. Anyway, that has been reduced from 33 down to 15. It's more than half of the QA team restructured. Restructured is certainly a way to put it. Even one One QA tester was made redundant in the middle of their paternity leave. Nice. Good shit. That definitely isn't a lawsuit waiting to happen. Rocksteady staff who requested to remain anonymous include team members with specialized knowledge, and remaining colleagues have been left to shoulder more of the work because, of course, we're not going to hire people to replace them. You're just going to have to do double the amount of work. More than double the amount of work, because they went from 33 to 15. Thanks. Appreciate it. You going to pay me more for doing 2 jobs? No. You going to pay yourself more for fucking ruining the IP? You bet. You bet I am. Staff members affected by the job cuts include numerous junior staff, but also several team members employed at Rocksteady for more than 5 years. This is coming after Suicide Squad allegedly lost $200 million developing the game. But no, let's not take some of the money away from Warner Bros. Executives who decided that, yeah, the best way to follow up an Arkham game was with a live service shooter thing. Let's not ask questions about them. Anyway, maybe, possibly good news. Hard to tell these days. Anyway, SAG-AFTRA calls huge win as 80 games agree to the union's AI terms. So SAG-AFTRA, the voice acting union for video games, have been on strike for a while now. This is basically a lot of game publishers and game developers are sitting on the fence around generative AI and what that will mean for voice acting. So SAG-AFTRA have a kind of contract in the works. The Interactive Media Agreement, it's called, that basically outlines that you won't use generative AI work for voice acting and so on. And the union itself, SAG-AFTRA, basically says that we're not going to do business with anybody who doesn't agree to that. You know, to kind of safeguard the job and what have you. So Lightspeed LA have signed on to the SAG-AFTRA's interim interactive media agreement to employ union talent for the game The Last Sentinel, which I've never heard of. But that was only the tip of the iceberg, because since then 80 games have followed suit. It's 80 games specifically rather than 80 developers or 80 studios or what have you. It's games specifically. Anyway. That's pretty substantial. We applaud those video game companies signing our tiered budget and interim agreements. Not only are they doing the right thing by their workers, they're also helping to preserve the human art, ingenuity, and creativity that fuels interactive storytelling. These agreements signal that the video game companies in the collective bargaining group do not represent the will of the larger video game industry. The many companies that are happy to agree to our AI terms prove that these terms are not only reasonable, but feasible and sustainable for business. The union statement also includes a note that some games that actually fall outside of the strike order have voluntarily signed on to the agreements, including some projects that have finished production and signed the agreement to protect past and future performances. This is things like Valorant, that's already out. Any kind of live service thing that's still going and would potentially need to do update packs for, I don't know, seasons or DLC or what have you, then they'd need the voice actor to come back and record some new lines. They want to make sure they're still able to do that. So they have voluntarily agreed to that kind of thing. But having 80 games doesn't seem like... It both seems like a lot and then like not a lot at the same time, because so many games come out now. But the fact that they can point to these studios that are smaller studios and they're able to, you know, shoulder whatever financial issue burden that the bigger companies are claiming, oh no, we need AI to keep costs down or some bullshit. They can basically come at them with the negotiating table and say, these studios are able to do it, why can't you? You have way more money than them. It's another negotiating tactic, and hopefully you'll get past it. Hopefully somebody will understand that yes, you need voice actors if you want any actual voice acting done. Inochi, the last song, studio says the Xbox version is indefinitely delayed due to a lack of communication from Microsoft. So, Inochi, the last song is a Soulsy action RPG kind of thing. It's coming out middle of September for PlayStation and PC, but the Xbox version was delayed for indefinite reasons. The reason at the time it was believed was because of the Xbox Series S, which a lot of developers have been on the record saying that it has been an annoyance to develop for. Microsoft do mandate that the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S versions of your games have to have feature parity, which means you can't cut things out of the game to make it run on the Series S. Everything has to work the same, which is why a lot of Xbox exclusives and stuff like that are all 30 FPS targeting things, and it's largely due to the Series S not having the horsepower to compete with what they want. And it's particularly for multi-platform games because they'll be looking at things like high-end PCs, the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and now they have to somehow make all of that work on the Series S. It becomes an issue down the line. And some are just taking the option to just not release on the Xbox. And then some, like Baldur's Gate or Baldur's Gate 3, have to go through a fair amount of rigmarole to kind of get around that issue of feature parity. So either Baldur's Gate 3 just isn't out on Series S, there just isn't a version for it, or the split screen just doesn't work on Series S or something like that. Some way they were able to get around it. Anyway, for Inotria though, that wasn't the issue. The issue was actually just straight up Xbox would not communicate with them at all. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts and the hard work of our dedicated team, we've encountered challenges that have delayed our release on the Xbox platform. We want to emphasize that this is not a decision we've made lightly. They cite a lack of communication on Xbox side, that the task is nearly impossible, with Microsoft taking months to reply to us when we have the game ready for submission. Tried to get the game out on Xbox with other platforms as well, and we spent many resources to do so, but we failed due to a lack of communication on their side. So this is kind of goes back to a game we looked at last week. Had a similar issue in that there was some problem with the partner sign-up sheet software, whatever they use for these kind of things, and there was some bug in it, and they were trying to talk to customer service reps, the people at ID at Xbox, to kind of help them out, and they're saying that's a Microsoft issue, you need to talk to them. They talk to people at Microsoft, and people at Microsoft go, huh? What? What, Sonny? A video game? I don't know what Microsoft are doing with Xbox these days. They seem to have... It feels like they want to leave the console market. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Because they have really just been half-assing it for the last while. Upcoming... I was trying to think of a segue, but I can't think of one. Anyway, upcoming Alan Wake update will torch David Bowie's Space Oddity from credits. Alright, so this is kind of more of a games preservation issue, and it kind of goes back to the same recurring problem that I've had with games preservation and why film and TV seem to get away with this and video games don't. It's the case of licensed music. Why is it that films are never updated to remove licensed music that they no longer have the license for? No, that would be shit, right? We'd agree that that would be a terrible thing to do, and they don't do it. But they do it all the time with video games. Why? Like, what is the specific deal that has been made that seems to apply to film but doesn't apply to video games, that they can take songs out? Anyway, David Bowie song Space Oddity plays in the credits of the original Alan Wake. It's being replaced with a different song, not a licensed one. It's made in-house. I'm not sure if it's a sound-alike or what, but there'll be something anyway. There won't just be silence over the credits. The Alan Wake game has a little bit of a TV show vibe to it. So end of every chapter has some kind of licensed music to it that has some connection to the title of the chapter and that kind of thing. I don't think they're being replaced, but this David Bowie one is, because David Bowie probably. But is it a case that they have to pay these in perpetuity and they just don't want to pay the cost? Or is there actually some kind of royalty buyout thing for licensed music? I don't know. I don't know how these deals are made. All I know is you never hear about fucking Shawshank Redemption being updated to remove music that it doesn't have license to anymore, you know? You don't hear about that. But you absolutely hear about it in video games all the time. Anyway. Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry director Hideaki Itsuno departs Capcom. So this is both good and not great news. So after 30 years, Hideaki Itsuno is leaving Capcom to start developing a new game in a new environment. I hope to create fun, beautiful games that are as memorable as, or even more memorable than, the ones I have created so far. Please stay tuned for my next creation. So Hideaki Itsuno, responsible for, in general, Dragon's Dogma, Devil May Cry, but has also worked on Street Fighter, Bionic Commando, some of the SNK versus games. Here at the bottom of the article might explain why he's decided to leave. Capcom explained it's working to enhance the brand of its intellectual properties by investing in television, movie projects, licensed merchandise, and esports initiatives. It sounds like Capcom are kind of going to take the IP they have and just develop them further rather than looking to make anything new. And it sounds like Itsuno wants to make something new. So that's fine. That's good news for him, and it's good news in general because it's, you know, new shit, new IP. The bad news though is Capcom do have this kind of like cheerleader mentality that if there isn't somebody in the company pushing, you know, cheerleading for their game, for their franchise, for their IP, the game doesn't get made. You know, the reason Dragon's Dogma 2 and Devil May Cry 5 got made is because Itsuno was just let's fucking make it. Let's go. Come on. Pushing for it. And now that it's happened, he's probably thinking, well, there's no fucking way they're going to let me make it Devil May Cry 6 or Dragon's Dogma 3 or whatever. It's going to be forever. And they're not going to let me make a new IP because they're too busy just polishing the ones they already have. So I'm gone. Goodbye. I'm going to make my own thing somewhere else. But it does mean we might never see a Devil May Cry 6 or a Dragon's Dogma 3 or whatever. Maybe. It's possible that there are still people in there who worked on all of those games and can kind of take his place and champion for DMC at least. Dragon's Dogma, I think, is a complete thing. It probably doesn't need another. I mean, I would love another one, but I don't think it needs it. Anyway, we'll leave Astrobot to loop. Anyway, that's your news for the 2nd to the 8th of September 2024. So Concord being unceremoniously killed off, pretty embarrassing for Sony, and very shit treatment of their developers. 8 years working on it, signed a contract with Sony to work on that game, only for it to just be killed off. There's a real question on whether the studio itself was relying on financial support from the game to keep going, whether there was some financial support from Sony built into the contract, so as long as the game was live, Sony would pay for bills or what have you. How's that going to work out for the studio itself? Is the studio still considered a member of PlayStation Studios and so on? They do have Arc Raiders that is allegedly still in development, but now that Concord is... They are claiming that they're working on like retooling it and making something else, but I don't think they will, honestly. And if they do, I don't think it's really going to be enough at this point. I think it would have to have a fairly significant alteration for people to come back to it, or come to it in general, because that's things like nobody bought it. That's probably largely the issue. Should it have been free to play from the beginning? I mean, yes, but also it shouldn't have been a hero shooter from the beginning. Also, because like I said last time, these kind of live service games, unless you're on the bandwagon already, waiting 8 years to develop the thing. Like, they're starting to develop this when Overwatch came out, right? And then Overwatch itself is not doing great. Overwatch 2, not doing amazing. Valorant is doing okay. League of Legends is doing pretty well, I suppose. There's that. But the thing is, so many other games did jump on the bandwagon of these hero shooters and either died off, right? Majority of them died off, right? Battleborn, Lawbreakers, Paladins. I'm sure there are more I can't think of right now. Tons of them. And Concord is another one that has died off. Even Overwatch doesn't have the staying power it used to have. And you're deciding to jump into that market? Really? That late? You think you'll be fine with doing no marketing whatsoever? And the only marketing you did do made the game seem like it was a completely different game. I mean, what were they planning? Nobody surpassing Team Fortress 2. Yeah, that is also fair. But Team Fortress isn't really a hero shooter. I guess it is a hero shooter, I suppose. You could make the argument it's a hero shooter, I suppose. Anyway, what else was there? couple of games getting their release dates, some of them being pushed back. Sony's PlayStation 30th anniversary thing. It's kind of hilarious coming on the heels of Concord. Oh yes, let's celebrate 30 years while we cancelled this game. Not like it's been the only game they've ever cancelled, but it's just funny. It's funny and sad and a bit embarrassing. That it was essentially unreleased. The only other games that I've seen that happen with Cyberpunk, I suppose, came out and then was very quickly pushed back into the bottle. And Cyberpunk did eventually turn into an okay game. I guess Concord might. You never know. It might turn into an okay game. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But, it might. And if it does, great. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong and find out that, yeah, Concord Part 2 or Realm Reborn actually is amazing. I doubt it, but we'll see. New games, quite a few new games out this week, and even more next week and so on. September, October, end of things tends to be pretty heavy for new releases. Quietens down a little bit in November, and you see nothing in December, January, and then stuff ramps up back again in February, March, April. So yeah, you'll be seeing probably a lot of games coming out the next while. Keep an eye out for some of your favorite ones. I'm sure a lot of them will be missed in... Well, it's going to be a ton of like big blockbuster games as well coming out pretty soon. Anyway, news-wise, Sony, again, we don't have enough IP. Here's all the IP you have. So much of it. So much that it can, like Astrobot. So many. They can make an entire human ladder thing for Astrobot to climb. And you do fucking nothing with it. You're doing nothing with it. You're sitting there on the same 4 IP. Last of Us, Horizon, God of War. I said 4. Shit. Ghost of Tsushima? Maybe? I don't know. I haven't done anything with that in a while. They're pretty much just coasting on Last of Us, Horizon, and God of War for the last while. And if that's all you're looking at in your financial reports, that's probably what C-Suite are doing. Then yeah, you don't have enough IP. But you really do have so many, and you're just doing nothing with them. Anyway, Sony are not the only company doing that. Microsoft are sitting on a shit ton of IP, especially with all of the acquisitions they made. Embracer Group, rather famously, acquired so many IP and is doing nothing, and probably at this point doesn't have the money to do anything with them. Warner Brothers is sitting on a shit ton. EA are sitting on it. They're doing nothing with it. They don't, license it out to another developer, indie developer who might want to make a bit of a name for themselves. Give me the IP to fucking... I'm trying to think of games now. Give me the IP to Parappa the Rapper. Let me make a new Parappa the Rapper game. Let me make a new... Well, they have somebody doing Fable, but let me make a new whatever... Heavenly Sword fucking game. I don't know, from Ninja Theory. There's going to be so many IPs sitting there doing nothing. Obviously, now that I have to think of them, I can't, because that's how your brain works, but Legacy of Kain, they're doing nothing. Deus Ex is doing nothing. Tomb Raider hasn't been a new one in fucking ages. Not that there needs to be, but it's a pretty huge IP to be sitting there not doing anything with it. Anyway, that's your news. I'm already angry enough. I don't need to go into it any further. What's happening with the channel next week? Okay, so this is the Game Card Roadmap 2024. So these are some of the games, well, all of the games that I wanted to kind of do full LPs of this year. Unlikely we're going to get to all of them, but some new additions. Nobody Wants to Die, we've started playing. It's a noir, a cyber noir detective thing. It's a pretty interesting premise that people have discovered a way to body jump and use that for kind of immortality. So the way it works is everybody it's set in the US, but I assume this is everywhere else in the world as well, has to sign up for this body subscription program thing when they turn 21. And you have to pay these subscriptions to keep your body, and if you aren't able to keep your body, it goes on auction and your mind is taken out and put in this vault thing. But the way it's turned into a dystopian thing is, of course, the price keeps going up and only the rich can afford it, so the rich get all the good bodies and the poor get all the bad bodies, and it's kind of the way it's working out. Anyway, Nobody Wants to Die seems to be at this point where there's a revolution on, hey, this is a bit shit. Let's undo all of that. And the rich are being killed off, and their means of body hopping is being destroyed and stuff like that. It's an interesting premise. The game itself is pretty standard detective things. You know, look at things in the environment, and there's some interesting voice dialogue, and then walk over there and click on something else in the environment, some more dialogue. You know, the gameplay isn't going to wow anybody, but that's why it's a Foley Fable. Foley Fables aren't really about the gameplay. They're really a hell of a lot more about the storyline. Also, we have System Shock 2023, just the remake to the original System Shock on the go. I am actually going to pause that Let's Play. At the moment, the console release is missing a lot of controller bindings that are available on the PC version. For some reason, they were not brought across onto the PS5 or the console version. So it's stuff like being able to, you know, toggle on and off your flashlight, or like being able to toggle on and off your shield, that kind of thing. The cursor speed is extremely slow on console and stuff like that. And that has been an annoyance as we've been playing it. So there has been a patch that came out a couple of days ago, and that has added a few things, but it hasn't quite, we're still not matching PC. So I'm going to pause it for a bit, and we'll see if it gets any more patches down the line. If it hasn't gotten a patch before the end of the year, then I guess we'll just move ahead with what we have and do our best. Or wait until I get a decent PC, possibly. So that's going to be on hold for a little bit. Next week, Hollow Body is released. Hollow Body is a indie game that's a bit of a homage to Silent Hill. And I have played a bit of the demo now, and also it was a Kickstarter game. I have backed it, so I'll be getting a backer key for it at some point. I'm quite looking forward to it. I'll probably give it a while for people to play it themselves, and then we'll do a full Let's Play of it at some stage. We gotta make sure we finish that probably before I start the next Resident Evil game. So we're working our way through the Resident Evil series. We've made our way up to Resident Evil 5, which we just finished recently. So Resident Evil Revelations will be next, but I don't want two kind of survival horror games on the go at the same time. So we'll finish Hollow Body, and then we'll move on to Resident Evil 5. Anyway, what's happening off stream? Off stream, the Vampire Survivor's curse has been lifted. I have platinumed it. I no longer feel the brain worms, the brain compulsion, the goblin that controls the back of my head to play Vampire Survivors anymore. Am I still going to play it? Yeah, probably, because I enjoy it, but at least it's not going to be something I'm playing all day, every day. That was the build that I finished it with. If anybody's interested and plays the game themselves, that was the last one. Extremely overpowered. Hilariously overpowered, honestly. Anyway. Schedule for next week is all Astrobot all day, every day, almost. We're going to finish off Nobody Wants to Die on Tuesday, and then we're basically going to play Astrobot until we're finished. It's pretty straightforward schedule this next week. I don't know if Astrobot will actually take all 4 streams. If it doesn't, I'll sub something else in instead. But I'm moving on the assumption that it will take all of them, because I'm going to try to like get all the collectibles and find all the cameos and all that kind of stuff. That's the plan. Nobody Wants to Die, I feel like it has 1 stream left in it, so we're going to do that on Tuesday, and then Wednesday all the way through to Saturday, Astrobot. That'll be that. Sunday we'll be back again with the weekly news recap, which you're watching right now. Right. That's it from me. That's your news and your channel update for the 2nd to the 8th of September 2024. Thanks for keeping me company, False Anarchist. Appreciate it. Anybody lurking is also appreciated too. But you don't have to lurk. You can chat if you feel like it. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can chat if you feel like it on Twitch, twitch.tv/DoomTrain5. And if you're watching on Twitch, you can watch the VOD of this. I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, if you wanted to watch a VOD of this, or any of the other Let's Plays that I've mentioned back in there, any of the green ticks, you know, if you wanted to catch up on any of those, you can find those over on youtube.com/DoomTrain5, right? I'm going to head off. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you guys on Tuesday when we wrap up Nobody Wants to Die. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
bye.